Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and this video is going to be on synthesis boss farming. What we're going to be talking about is how you can get as many bosses as possible out of your tiles, kind of like how much currency you can be expecting to make, and what the big ticket, big money items are, and how you can kind of go about getting them ASAP. So to begin with, I kind of want to talk about the bosses. There is a total of 5 different boss tiles that you can spawn. Currently, I have only had access to 3 due to pretty weird RNG, but the ones that I've had access to are the physical boss, the fire boss, and the lightning boss multiple times. I've killed about 20 bosses now, all up, and it's been pretty good and pretty quick to do. So we're going to go over quickly what we can expect to get from the loot. So if you bring up the wiki, we can see all of the synthesis items here, right here, and a lot of these do drop from the bosses. So we'll talk about them quickly. Some of them drop from what's called the memory cortex, which is kind of like the Chayula equivalent or the Uber Elder equivalent of this league, or maybe even comparing it to Farrell. And then the other 4 are kind of like the lesser value bosses, the more common ones, the ones that you can probably expect to see a lot more often. So a lot of the rings drop off these more common bosses, and the ones that I'll talk about here are as follows. So the ones that I can confirm are of the common bosses are the Circle of Anguish, which is the Herald of Ash one, the Circle of Fear, which is Herald of Ice, Circle of Guilt, and Circle of Regret. So each of these drop off their respective boss's element. I have not had a Circle of Nostalgia yet, which is the Chaos one. I'm not sure if this drops off the Memory Cortex, which is the final boss, or if it's just on a different kind of loot table or something like that. But yeah, all of these other 4 drop from their respective boss's element, and you can expect to see them fairly commonly. In terms of the drop chances of these, I've gotten about a 60 to 70% chance to get loot off these bosses at around a level 72 kind of map level when I'm doing them. So those are the first lots of rings, and these sell from anywhere between 5 to 20C, with a lot of them falling in the middle area, that kind of 10C point. However, no one's really made a build with these yet, so they could go much higher. We'll just have to see as we develop more builds. So the next few items do indeed drop as well, and that is Mask of the Tribunal and Storm's Gift. So these 2 items I've gotten a lot of. I've gotten multiple of each of them. So the Storm's Gift is a pretty good item from what I can gather. I've sold about 2 or 3 pairs of these now for 20C each, regardless of what the implicit role is. Like this one here, they seem to sell all the same, and people do buy them fairly quickly, so much so that I don't have any left in stock. The next one here is Mask of the Tribunal. This one is definitely a little bit worse of a seller until someone makes a really good build with it. It's about 4 or 5C currently, and they sell pretty quickly as well. So those are the items which I currently understand, like where they drop and all that kind of stuff. And I do also know for a fact that the flask up here, which is currently worth around 3.5 exalts, does drop off the Memory Cortex, which is the Farrell-like or Chayula-like area. In addition to that, I've heard rumors that the Garb of the Ephemeral drops off that, and so does Nebulous. So all 3 of those drops drop from the big boy, whatever that may be. So Nebulous is worth about 1 exalt, and of course this Garb of Ephemeral, which is Headhunter level good, is around 10x currently in soft core. So with this information, you guys now know that there is currency to be made if we can get to the bosses quick enough, and we can try and get some of that Memory Cortex action. So now we're going to go into how to spawn the bosses quickly, effectively, and get a lot of currency. So really quickly, if you haven't watched my previous video, which is part 2 tips, I do recommend it, but we're going to briefly go over what I mentioned there. So currently, my understanding is that you can have a maximum of 20 reward tiles on the memory chart at once. So it's 19 generic kind of rewards ones that include memory amplifiers, like Parandus, Abyss, all that kind of stuff. It's 19 of those, and it will always reserve 1 slot for the boss tile. So it'll be 19 plus 1. You can never have 20 reward tiles to my knowledge and from what I've tested. So it'll always have a chance to spawn the boss, and that's that. Part number 2 of what we need to understand is that when you place a memory tile, it kind of ticks the memory nexus. It kind of activates a refresh on it. It'll have a chance to spawn new pieces, whether that be memory or boss pieces. So that's really, really important information as well. So when we're spawning in pieces and we're kind of ticking the memory nexus, we want to have the highest chance to spawn a new boss in as possible. And to do that, what I've discovered is that you want to actually have the maximum amount of rewards on the memory nexus at one time, because then when you're ticking it, it's never going to have a chance to spawn a new reward versus a boss. It'll always spawn the boss if it can. And that seems to be pretty effective for me, and my record is about 2 bosses in 10 tiles. So I spawned the boss, I got to it, I did it, and then I spawned another one, and then I got to it, and I did it in 10 tiles. There's a bit of RNG. You're not going to spawn the boss instantly every time, but we're going to do a bit of a demonstration here, and hopefully I don't get wrecked on RNG. Currently, I do not have any boss tiles on this part of the memory nexus, so I can quickly try and spawn one in, and I'll show you the method that I use to do so. So generally, I like to use the lesser effective pieces to kind of tick the memory nexus, and what I'll do is basically I'll spawn in a piece here, I'll crank it up here, and then I'll take a look around for the boss. I can't see him just yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that one, I'm going to spawn another piece in, and I'm going to try again. And I'll basically, here we go, it just spawned in. So it took me 2 pieces to spawn that boss in, and that was with no boss present, and I just did that in basically like 2 seconds. So now that I have him spawned and I know where he is, I can now path to him effectively. So I might use some of these pieces here. Let's see, I can just build a really quick path to him. We'll use this one here, and then that one there. So now I'll run there. So I've used a total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces to spawn him in and get to him. And then I can quickly bang him out, maybe get 10C, 20C, I don't know. And I had a chance to get the memory cortex from that. Now, I'm not sure if the memory cortex is item level dependent or something like that, but someone will have to look into that. But this is definitely the most effective way to spawn bosses, get to them, and then do it again. And this method is pretty tried and true. You can use this for memory islands as well, but you're going to be able to power farm bosses like it's nobody's business doing this method. Using bad pieces to tick the atlas, getting there with your good pieces, and then ticking it again after you kill it, and that's that. One little thing I will mention though, when you're chaining bosses in this fashion, is when you get to this up here, I won't go up there, it'll take too long, but when you do that, you get to there and you kill the boss, make sure you then zone out of there, go into a new fragment and click the pillar, because that'll then despawn the tile and take that off the atlas. Then you can head back to the nexus and spawn it in again. Because a lot of the times what I've done accidentally, and a lot of other people have done, is they've left the tile on the atlas and then tried to spawn a new one while it's still there in a decayed state, and not like you haven't refreshed that tile yet. And in that case, it won't allow you to spawn a new tile because you could still technically get back to that boss tile. So make sure you get rid of that after it's complete, and you guys will be good to go in power farming bosses. So that's been the video, guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed and learned something. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.